My conspiracy is that the divide in America is being exploited by the powers that be to keep the public occupied with identity politics rather than noticing we are all Americans and we are all getting our pockets picked by the same predatory peckerheads. Whoa, strong language there.
History is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
Brown-Eyed Girl says, I was delighted that someone took an interest in the changing propaganda laws stateside. Interesting to use the phrase stateside. Maybe they don't live in the United States? I'm not sure. When I first found out about the fact that U.S. was sending propaganda across the world, I was shocked, as any little patriot would be. Then, a decade ago, when the gloves were taken off and American citizens were treated like anyone else on the world stage, I realized that maybe what I was learning in school might not be correct, accurate, or truthful. One of the groups you talked about was Voice of America, or VOA, which was a Central Intelligence Agency-funded radio channel, which was meant to change the hearts and minds of anyone from Portugal to Peru. VOA has a current budget of nearly $250 million and broadcasts in 47 languages. This instrument of Uncle Sam is not my reason for writing. I write because of its leadership under Ronald Reagan. Dick Carlson, father of, callback to Strange News episode from this week, Tucker Carlson, was the director of VOA during the Reagan administration and later became the CEO of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the folks who bring you PBS.
Wait a minute, but I thought that Carlson was also heir to the, Swanson's food family fortune. Was he also the head of the Swanson's food family fortune?
I know nothing. I am just reading what Brown-Eyed Girl said.
Okay, sorry. Carry on.
Brown-Eyed Girl continues. Years later, Dick's son Tucker would be rejected from joining the CIA. I have not confirmed this. I do not know if this is correct. When lost with no direction after being turned down, his father told him, quote, any idiot could go into broadcasting. Oh, ouch, that stings. And that is where Tucker Carlson, the shock jock of cable television, came from. My personal thought is that maybe talking heads like Tucky, okay, interesting, are actually working for the same employer his father had, i.e. the CIA. But rather than promoting coups in Albania in the fall of the Soviet Union, the cable news crowd might be dividing America against one another to distract us from the bigger issues at play. It would not be hard, quote, any idiot could do it.
Sorry, real quick. It was Tucker Carlson's mother, Patricia Caroline Swanson, who was an heiress to the Swanson Enterprises. So he's got big influential folks on both sides.
Nothing like a Swanson's family dinner? Is that a thing? I can't remember.
Yeah, they got those good pot pies. Swanson's turkey pot pies are pretty good.
Here's where it gets crazy within Brown-Eyed Girl's email. My conspiracy is that the divide in America is being exploited by the powers that be to keep the public occupied with identity politics rather than noticing we are all Americans and we are all getting our pockets picked by the same predatory peckerheads. Whoa, strong language there. If you go through the career of Tucker Carlson, his whole career is simply being divisive. From his time in print media to CNN's Crossfire, where they had a conservative Tucker argue night in and night out with Chris Matthews, to his Fox News show, where there is no substance to his arguments, just devil's advocacy and twisted statistics and fear-mongering. What if this is just what his father did, only for a new audience? What if all the arguments we are having as a nation are just the government throwing up smoke screens so we do not notice the real things going on in the background? Just a thought. If you ever want a crazy read, just look at Dick Carlson's biography online. One hell of a ride. Best regards, Brown-Eyed Girl.
Well, I've always felt pretty confident that we're getting equal amounts of bullshit from the left and the right when it comes to certain levels of government. And that a lot of the rhetoric and things that get, assigned kind of pet projects and sort of the more emotional issues, those are all smoke screens. Even if they're good ones that are, ultimately things that are positive or whatever, I think they're smoke screens as well. in that context. So being a politician requires a lot of smokescreens and a lot of like general kind of appeal, and also sometimes that can be found with divisiveness. So I think it's a pretty good point. I don't know.
It feels like an odd thing to come to terms with in my mind at least, and perhaps in yours too, thinking about the mission of someone who is both a spy of some sort and a broadcaster who has a big stage, right? That's a weird concept because
I missed the spy part. So is the sense here that Tucker Carlson's father, who was the head of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, was acting on behalf of some other government? I'm sorry if I spaced on that part.
Oh, that's okay. The point was that Voice of America was funded, at least in part, by the Central Intelligence Agency because it is a propaganda effort, right?
Okay, so it's our spies trying to divide in a way that is beneficial to certain operations and, ideologies, perhaps.
Yes, and the connection there from the VOA and the CIA to public broadcasting is Dick Carlson, because he was running the VOA and then became CEO of public broadcasting, right?
Tucker Carlson, you can look at his career, and he pushed boundaries as far as was acceptable at the time, and then pushed them a little farther and got a little more popular, and then pushed them a little farther and then a little farther. He's very much like an Alex Jones kind of figure in that respect, where he started sort of being performatively obnoxious and then gradually started ramping up his rhetoric to the point of like this fever pitch where it could be interpreted as like dangerous fear-mongering, at some point.
Yeah, and in the end, because of the nature of the business that he's in, Tucker is beholden to the people who run the channels with one paramount mission: get viewers. Oh, yeah. Get as many viewers as you can. Get them to watch our advertising. Do what you got to do.
And I mean, we also know that a lot of big corporations give to both political parties equally in some ways, because it's all about control and it's all about like doing whatever they can to get viewers. So sometimes when you ascribe virtue or some sort of ideology that you can identify with that you think is based in some way on like real stuff to a network, to a television network, I think that is misplaced optimism there. You know what I mean? Almost every time,
Yeah.
Unless it's a smaller one, or like a publicly funded. But again, even this calls into question like NPR and stuff too. But like, certain smaller ones that can go hard in the paint in their particular direction because they're not beholden to the same, overlords as like a Fox News or a CNN or, MSNBC or whatever it might be.
Yeah. It would be weird if we found out like there was some connection to the CIA with public broadcasting, right? It would just paint those.
Put it past them.
It would paint those pledge drives in a different light for me. Like, oh, that's weird. Okay, what is that for then? Whoa, all right, whatever.
It'd be funny too if all of a sudden your pledge drive reward started becoming like invisible ink pens and like spy craft kind of stuff because the CIA was sort of pitching in.
Yeah, I hope not. I absolutely love PBS and NPR and all those things. So
yeah, it's good stuff. But but it's also I can see too how folks on the other side think that they're radical liberals is a term of abuse. But I can see how if you don't fall on that side of the fence and you listen to some of these folks, that you could hear a lot of like what you might consider virtue signaling or things that are like totally canceling out your perspective, which to many might be abhorrent. But I can see how that divide is also like fuel for the fire. You know what I mean?